There was like an alien race that came here from another planet and gave just a random group of people technology.
Yeah.
Gave them an understanding of things and how to do things.
Antarctica, a frozen wasteland or a land of hidden secrets? Joe Rogan thinks it's the latter, and he's not alone. From mysterious pyramids to alien bases, the theories about this icy continent are wild.
What's missing from the map, entirely missing, is Antarctica. There's just a hole at the bottom of the world. There's nothing there.
And now Russia might just have the proof to shake up everything we've been told. Imagine a place so remote, so untouched, that it could hide anything. Ancient civilizations, extraterrestrial visitors, or even a cover-up orchestrated by the world's superpowers.
Why do we have these weird structures that no one can really explain? And when you think about the fact that there's so much evidence that we were hit by comets, that we were hit by large objects. Like, I didn't know about that enormous crater that's in Antarctica.
Rogan's been obsessed with this stuff for years, and with Russia dropping hints that Antarctica isn't what it seems, it's time to dive deep into the icy unknown. Buckle up, this is going to be a long, wild ride. Joe Rogan's Antarctica obsession. Joe Rogan is the king of podcasts, a guy who's made a career out of asking big questions and chasing the weirdest corners of human experience. And when it comes to Antarctica, he's like a kid in a candy store, except the candy is conspiracy theories, unexplained phenomena, and tales of adventure that sound too crazy to be true. Over the years, he's dedicated multiple episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience to this frozen continent, and it's not because he's got a thing for penguins. No, Rogan's hooked on the mystery, the idea that Antarctica might be hiding something massive, something that could rewrite everything we know.
And so they sent Avril Bird up to go find out, and according to his journal that they found much later, he basically met with UFOs, Nazi UFOs.
Take episode 1852 with comedian Sam Tripoli, for instance. The two of them went full-on tinfoil hat, dissecting one of the wildest Antarctica conspiracies out there, Operation High Jump. This was a real U.S. Navy mission in 1946, led by Admiral Richard Byrd, billed as a simple exploration gig, but Tripoli wasn't buying it. Dude, they sent a whole fleet down there. Ships, planes, thousands of guys, and they came back early, freaked out, he told Rogan. Some say they ran into Nazis with UFOs or aliens under the ice. Rogan, eyebrows raised, leaned in. Wait, so you're telling me they found something down there? He asked, half laughing, half serious. Tripoli doubled down, claiming Bird's crew got attacked by flying saucers that popped out of the ice like it was a sci-fi flick. Rogan didn't fully buy it, he's a skeptic at heart, but you could tell he was loving every second of the story. Then there's episode 1996 with Andy Stumpf, a retired Navy SEAL who's been around the block. Stumpf didn't go full conspiracy mode, but he dropped some cryptic hints about Antarctica that got Rogan's wheels turning. People go missing down there, man, Stumpf said, his voice low and gravelly. It's like the place just swallows them up. Rogan jumped on that. Yeah, and no one talks about it. Why is that? What's going on down there? It's classic Rogan. He's not claiming aliens or snatching scientists, but he's planting the seed, letting your imagination run wild, but it's not all cloak and dagger stuff. Rogan's also had guests like Colin O'Brady, a pro-adventurer who crossed Antarctica solo on foot. In episode 1429, O'Brady painted a vivid picture of the place, endless white, silence so deep it messes with your head, and this eerie feeling of being watched. How do you not lose your mind out there? Rogan asked, genuinely curious. O'Brady talked about the mental grind, the way the isolation gets under your skin, and those weird moments where the ice seems alive. Rogan ate it up. Maybe it's because there's a giant alien base under there, he quipped, flashing that grin of his. It was a joke, sure, but the kind that makes you go, huh, what if? What really drives Rogan's obsession is his distrust of the official narrative. He's built his brand on questioning authority, whether it's about UFOs, Bigfoot, or government cover-ups, and Antarctica fits right into that wheelhouse. Think about it. a continent with no permanent residents, locked down by an international treaty that bans military activity and mining, and home to some of the most secretive research stations on Earth. If you wanted to hide something, say alien tech, ancient ruins, or a clandestine experiment, where better than a place no one can just stroll into? We've got all this technology, and yet there's still this huge chunk of the planet we barely understand. Rogan said in one episode, "That's nuts!" He's got a point. Antarctica's ice sheet covers about 5.4 million square miles, and beneath it lies a world we've only scratched the surface of. Literally. Scientists estimate that 70% of the continent's landmass is still unmapped under all that ice, and every year new discoveries pop up: massive subglacial lakes, strange magnetic anomalies, even fossils that hint at a time when Antarctica was a tropical paradise. Rogan loves throwing that stuff out there. "We know more about Mars than we do about what's under the Antarctic ice," he said more than once. "It's not just hyperbole, it's a call to wake up and wonder." Of course, Rogan's not above having a little fun with it. In that Tripoli episode, he cracked up at the idea of Nazi UFOs buzzing Bird's fleet. "Come on, man, that's straight out of a comic book," he said, shaking his head. But then he'd pivot deadpan. "Still, you never know." That's the Rogan magic. He's got this ability to entertain the craziest ideas without fully committing, keeping you hooked while he picks apart the possibilities. It's why his Antarctica rants are some of his best content. They blend hard facts with wild speculation, all wrapped in that laid-back, let's figure this out together vibe. At its core, Rogan's Antarctica obsession is about pushing boundaries. He's fascinated by the limits of human exploration, the places where science bumps up against the unknown, and Antarctica, it's the ultimate playground for that. Whether he's riffing on lost civilizations, grilling adventurers about the ice, or poking holes in the official story, Rogan's got one goal: to make you question what you've been told. And with Russia now stirring the pot, more on that later, he's got plenty of fresh ammo to keep the conversation going. Operation High Jump, the conspiracy connection.
And by direction of the President of the United States, Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, veteran polar explorer, was named officer in charge.
Let's rewind to 1946 and Operation High Jump, a U.S. Navy mission that's become the stuff of legend in conspiracy circles, and a total goldmine for Joe Rogan. Officially, it was a straightforward gig. Admiral Richard Byrd, a polar exploration rock star, led a fleet of 13 ships, 23 aircraft, and over 4,700 men to Antarctica to set up a research base, test gear in brutal conditions, and map the place out. Simple, right? Except the conspiracy crowd and Rogan say it was anything but. The wildest theory, the one Rogan chewed over with Sam Tripoli in episode 1852, is that Operation High Jump was a secret war against a Nazi stronghold in Antarctica. Yep, Nazis. The story goes that during World War II, Hitler's crew built a hidden base under the ice, maybe with help from alien tech or stolen science, and after the war ended, the U.S. sent Byrd to take it out. Tripoli laid it out like a movie pitch. They roll up with this massive armada ready to kick some ass, and boom, they get attacked by UFOs. Flying saucers, dude, coming right out of the ice. Rogan, eyes wide, played along. "So you're saying Byrd's fleet got smoked by Nazi UFOs? That's bananas." Tripoli pointed to alleged diary entries from Byrd, where the admiral supposedly described encountering bizarre aircraft that could zip from pole to pole in seconds. According to the tale, these crafts blasted Byrd's ships, forcing the mission to cut out early, 2 months instead of the planned 6. Rogan didn't swallow it whole. "I mean, it's a hell of a story, but where's the proof?" he asked. Good question. Turns out those diary entries are a conspiracy staple, but historians call them fake. Byrd's real logs don't mention anything about UFOs or Nazis, just ice and bad weather. Still, the theory's got legs, and you can see why Rogan loves it. Operation High Jump was huge, way bigger than your average science trip. Why send a small army to a continent with no enemies? And why did they bail so fast? The official line is that brutal storms and ice forced the retreat, but conspiracy buffs say that's a cover. They point to Byrd's post-mission interviews, where he hinted at Antarctica being more strategically important than people realized. In a 1947 Chilean newspaper, El Mercurio, Byrd reportedly warned that the U.S. needed to prepare for enemies who could attack from the poles with incredible flying machines. Rogan's brought this up before. If it was just weather, why is he talking about polar invasions? Let's break it down. Operation High Jump kicked off in August 1946, right as the Cold War was heating up. The US and Soviet Union were already eyeing each other suspiciously, and some historians think the mission was a flex, a way to show off naval power in a remote corner of the world. Antarctica's got no obvious military value, sure, but it's a great spot for testing tech or staking a claim before the other guy does. Maybe Byrd's fleet was there to scout, not fight. Rogan's take? Governments lie all the time. Who knows what they were really up to? Then there's the hollow Earth angle, another conspiracy Rogan's flirted with. Some say Byrd didn't just find Nazis, he stumbled into a secret world beneath the ice, a subtropical paradise with its own sun and maybe even civilizations. The story claims he flew over a hidden oasis during the mission, with warm lakes and greenery smack in the middle of Antarctica. Imagine that, Rogan mused, a whole other planet under our feet. It's pure fantasy. Byrd's flights mapped plenty of ice, but no jungles. But it ties into old hollow Earth myths that have been around since the 1700s. Antarctica's size and mystery make it the perfect setting. The facts, though, are less sexy. Byrd was a legit explorer, famous for flying over the North Pole in 1926, though some dispute that. By 1946, he'd already been to Antarctica twice, so he was the guy for the job. Operation High Jump did set up Little America 4, a research base, and mapped huge chunks of the coast. But the scale of it, 4,700 men, a freaking aircraft carrier, feels off for a science mission. And the early exit? Weather's a solid excuse, but it doesn't kill the whispers. Rogan's not the only one hooked. Operation High Jump spawned books, documentaries, even video games, all riffing on the Nazi UFO angle. And it wasn't the last time the military poked around down there. Operation Deep Freeze in the 1950s set up permanent U.S. bases, and by 1959, the Antarctic Treaty locked the place down. Coincidence? Rogan doesn't think so. Something happened down there, he said. Maybe not aliens, but something they don't want us talking about. What's the truth? Probably mundane. Cold War posturing, a big budget, and some bad luck with storms. But the gaps in the story leave room for imagination, and that's where Rogan thrives. He's not here to prove Nazis flew saucers. He's here to make you wonder why we're still arguing about it 70 years later. Russia's role in Antarctica today. Now we get to the meat of it, Russia. The idea that Russia reveals Antarctica is not what we're being told is the spark for this whole essay. So let's dig into what they're up to down there. Spoiler, there's no smoking gun, no leaked memo saying, "We found aliens." But Russia's moves in Antarctica are weird enough to raise eyebrows, and Rogan's the type to notice. First, the basics. Russia's been in the Antarctica game since the Soviet days, signing the Antarctic Treaty in 1959 alongside the US and 10 other nations. The treaty keeps the continent neutral. No weapons, no mining, just science. Russia runs multiple research stations like Vostok, Bellingshausen, and Mirny, and they've got a knack for pushing the envelope. Take Lake Vostok, a subglacial giant buried under 2.5 miles of ice. In 2012, Russian scientists drilled through that ice and hit liquid water, a lake sealed off for 15 million years. They found microbes, sure, but the hype was unreal. Rogan jumped on it. It's like they cracked open a time capsule. What else is down there? Fast forward to today, and Russia's doubling down. In 2020, they opened a shiny new station at Mirny, pumping cash into icebreakers and tech to keep their foothold strong. This isn't chump change. Antarctica's a logistical nightmare, and Russia's spending billions. Why? Officially, it's science. Studying climate, drilling ice cores, chasing microbes. But conspiracy heads and Rogan aren't sold. They're not dropping that kind of money just to count penguins, he said in episode 1996 with Andy Stumpf. Here's where it gets juicy. Russia's got a track record of flexing in cold places. In the Arctic, they've claimed huge chunks of seabed, planted flags, and built military bases, all while eyeballing oil and gas reserves. Antarctica's treaty bans that stuff, but what if it's a long game? The continent's loaded with resources. oil, coal, maybe even rare earth metals, and while mining's off limits now, the treaty can be revisited. Rogan's sniffed this out. You think they're going to leave all that oil in the ground forever? Hell no! Then there's the weird stuff. In 2018, a Russian Orthodox priest blessed a research station down there, and pics of it went viral. Rogan couldn't resist. Why's a priest blessing a science base? What are they hiding? Demons under the ice. He laughed. It's probably just cultural flair. Russia loves its traditions, but it feeds the narrative that something's off. Add in rumors from 2015 that Russia ran military drills in Antarctica. They denied it. And you've got a recipe for suspicion. The subglacial lakes are the real kicker. Russia's obsessed with them. Over 400 dot the continent, and Vostok's just the start. These lakes are liquid gold for science, potentially holding life that's evolved alone for millennia. In 2021, Russia rolled out the Ivan Papanin, a beast of an icebreaker built for Antarctic missions, loaded with drilling gear. They say it's for research, but conspiracy theorists and Rogan see more. Imagine they find something down there that rewrites history, he said. Ancient ruins, alien bones, whatever, they're not going to tell us. No hard proof backs this up. Russia's discoveries, like Vostok's microbes, get published, shared with the world per treaty rules, but the scale of their operation feels off. They've got 5 active stations, more than most countries, and their icebreaker fleet's growing while others stall. Compare that to the US, which runs McMurdo but hasn't matched Russia's pace lately. Is it just science, or are they prepping for something, like a treaty collapse or a resource grab? Rogan's take is simple. He doesn't trust anyone. Governments keep secrets, period, he said, and Russia's got the means to find something big down there. No bombshell revelation has dropped yet, but Russia's actions, drilling deeper, building bigger, hint they might know more than they're letting on. Whether it's aliens, resources, or just flexing for the future, they're keeping us guessing. And that's Rogan's playground. Weird discoveries under the ice. Antarctica's a freak show. It's the coldest, driest, windiest place on Earth, and yet it's spitting out discoveries that make your jaw drop. Joe Rogan's all over this. He's got a nose for the strange, and Antarctica's basically his dream buffet. Let's dig into the wildest stuff they found under that ice. Start with the Antarctic pyramids. In 2016, satellite pics showed 3 triangle-shaped peaks in the Ellsworth Mountains, and the internet lost its mind. Were they built by aliens, an ancient civilization? Rogan pulled them up in episode 1996 with Andy Stumpf. Look at this, dude, he said, pointing at the screen. That's a pyramid. How's that natural? Stumpf wasn't sold. Ice does weird things, man. But Rogan pushed back. Too perfect. Nature's messy, not this clean. Scientists say they're nunataks, peaks poking through the ice shaped by erosion. Fair, but damn if they don't look man-made. Next up, Polinyas. These are giant holes in the sea ice, and in 2017, one the size of Maine popped up in the Weddell Sea. No warning, just a massive gap. It's like Godzilla punched through, Rogan said. Experts think it's currents and wind, but its randomness spooks people. What's under there? Rogan's guess, maybe a secret base warming up. The real gold's beneath the ice sheet. Take Lake Vostok. Russia hit it in 2012 and found microbes older than humanity. Then there's the 2018 Thwaites Glacier cavity, a void 2/3 the size of Manhattan carved out by melting. Scientists worry it'll collapse the glacier. Rogan wonders what's inside. Could be a UFO hangar, he joked. And in 2020, they found a network of subglacial rivers and lakes, some linked to the ocean. It's a whole ecosystem we didn't know existed, he said. What's swimming around down there? Fossils flipped the script even harder. In 2021, sediment cores showed Antarctica had rainforests 90 million years ago, temps hitting 68 degrees Fahrenheit, ferns and dinosaurs everywhere. A jungle where it's -80 now, Rogan said. That's insane. It tracks. Antarctica was part of Gondwana back then, but picturing T-Rexes in the snow zone messes with your head. Meteorites are another trip. Antarctica's ice preserves them like a museum, and over 20,000 have been nabbed. The big one's ALH84001, a Mars rock from 1984 with possible fossilized bacteria. Rogan's eyes lit up. Proof of life on Mars found in Antarctica? That's next level. Scientists argue over it, but it's a mind-bender. Then there's Blood Falls, red water oozing from Taylor Glacier like a slasher flick. It's iron-rich brine from a salty subglacial lake, but Rogan nailed it. The glacier's bleeding, man. Metal as hell. It's natural, but freaky enough to fuel nightmares. These finds show how little we get about Antarctica. 90%'s under ice, and we're just poking at the edges. Rogan sums it up. It's the last frontier. Every time we look, it's something nuts. He's right. What's next? The Arctic versus Antarctica. Why it matters. Arctic or Antarctica? Easy mix-up, but they're worlds apart, and Rogan knows Antarctica's the conspiracy champ. Let's break it down and figure out why. The Arctic's an ocean ringed by land. Russia, Canada, the US, all with stakes. It's got people, Inuit, others, bases, and a resource war brewing over oil and gas. Antarctica's a continent surrounded by ocean with zero natives, just scientists and seals. The Arctic's busy, Antarctica's a ghost town. Rogan's asked, why is Antarctica the spooky one when the Arctic's right there? Isolation's key. Antarctica's a slog to reach, thousands of miles from anywhere, locked in ice half the year. The Arctic's tough but doable. Ships and planes hit it regularly. You can't just Airbnb in Antarctica, Rogan said. That remoteness breeds mystery. Add the Antarctic Treaty, no military, no mining, just science, and it feels like a vault. Why lock it down if it's nothing? Rogan's mused. The Arctic's got its own weirdness, Franklin's lost expedition, UFO sightings, but it's less sexy. Russia's Arctic grab is realpolitik, not X-Files fodder. Antarctica's blank slate lets conspiracies run wild. Aliens, Nazis, hollow Earth. Oil's boring, Rogan said. Ancient ruins? That's the good stuff. Still, the Arctic's not dead. Melting ice reveals old wrecks and some whisper about secret tests up there. But Antarctica's scale, 5.4 million square miles of unknown, trumps it. It's the wild card, and Rogan knows it. Arctic's a backyard. Antarctica's another planet. Science or secrets? The Antarctic Treaty. The Antarctic Treaty's a unicorn. 54 countries agreeing to keep a whole continent peaceful since 1959. No wars, no nukes, just science. Noble, right? Rogan's not convinced. Why does a frozen rock need all that paperwork? He's asked. Let's unpack it. The treaty bans military stuff and mining, pushing research instead. It's birthed breakthroughs, climate data, ozone studies, but Rogan smells a rat. If it's just ice, why the secrecy? One angle, resources. Antarctica's got oil, coal, maybe trillions in minerals. Mining's off limits, but forever's a long time. They're waiting us out, Rogan said. Then there's the military loophole. Science can mean anything. McMurdo's got tech that could double as spy gear. Rogan's onto it. They say it's research, but what kind? And those old territorial claims? Argentina, Australia, others, aren't gone, just frozen. If the treaty cracks, chaos could follow. Secrecy's the kicker. Big finds, like that 2018 ice cavity, stay hushed too long for Rogan's taste. They're hiding something, he said. Maybe not aliens, but power plays. Sure, the treaty's a win for peace, but it's also a perfect blind. Rogan's call, question everything. Antarctica's a puzzle, and Joe Rogan's the guy holding the flashlight. From Operation High Jump to Russia's ice drills, it's a mix of fact, fiction, and what if that keeps us hooked. Russia might not have spilled the beans yet, but their moves, and Rogan's questions, leave us wondering what's really down there. The ice isn't talking, but we sure are.